Okay, so in this video, we'll be doing a brief description of the different rarities across of different sets for Gate Ruler. So this will cover sets 1, 2, and 3, as well as we'll go over different types that we'll find in the cards, as well as potentially some differences that have come up. The main rarity difference is mostly from set 1, where there was a lot of variants, but the variants are very hard to distinguish. So a lot of people are not very sure what like rarity their cards are, because again the differences are very slight. But in this video we'll cover those differences, and we'll be looking at different types of cards from like the different sets, and comparing them to newer sets, which has gotten a lot more distinct between different rarities. So the first card we're going to go over is for set 1, which is the Multiverse Alliance. You have a box topper. So every box or every set has come with a box topper for this card, and it's usually a card within the set. For set 1 and 2, they only had one box topper, or at least one type, whereas set 3 had 9 total because of the new rarity that they introduced. And again, we'll go through that. But again, with box toppers, usually they have on the bottom, you can usually find the base rarity type. Sorry if you will focus. So you see it says PR. So PR means promo. Okay? So most of the box toppers are all considered promos, and then usually it's a promo of a card in the set. And then so again with this card, this is a promo. It is actually a promo of another card in the base set. So again, these two cards are the exact same, but again there is an alternate art, and then you'll notice with the box topper on the right that there is no border along the edges. Okay? But with that, so like for example, thing we'll go over is, so like we'll notice on this card, you'll see the number of stars on the bottom. So the number of stars is how you'll tell the rarity of cards aside from like promos. So if there are no stars, so if there's 0 stars, it actually means it is from a starter deck. Okay, or it'll be a promo, but it will say next to it. So for like example, this one says PR for a promo, but there's no stars. But if it doesn't say promo and there's no stars, it means it is from one of the starter decks. Okay. After that, you have 1 star for commons, 2 stars for uncommons, 3 stars for essentially like rares, which comes in base foil, as well as 4 stars. And then there are different variants of 4 stars. 4 stars is actually the highest rarity, but there are different types. So like with this one with Viola is just a normal 4 star. You also have what is known as secrets. So each set has had a secret, and then in other videos on my channel, I do product and box openings for each set, as well as, at least for the last 2 sets, I did master case openings. But with like set 1, I did like the equivalent of a master case, which is about 24 boxes. But I didn't pull a different ratio. The set 1 actually has very different odds than the other sets because of the different types of foiling inside of that set, which we'll go over in a little bit, and I will mention the differences for that. But there are secrets in the first set, which are usually, so instead of stars, it will have 3 question marks to implicate that it is a secret rare. And so far as we know, the secret rares for at least set 1 and 2 have already been shown that they are going to have a reprint of it as a promo, and like a star participation. So, you know, if you want to wait for those to come out, you know, you don't have to spend, you know, some of them were going for, you know, like for about 100 or plus for some of the secret rares because of how hard they are to get. So for like example, for set 1, this card, which is the Blazing Judgment of Magvarius. So you'll notice slightly, sorry, it might be easier to see without the sleeve. But you'll notice on this card, like if you look at the certain lighting, it's slightly textured. So I'm not sure how the new promos one will look. It probably is just like a flat foiling. But the secret rare, so again, you'll notice in the corner on the bottom, it says the 3 question marks. And again, this is the secret rare for set 1. So the chances of pulling this card was about 1 in every 2 cases. So again, a master case is 4, meaning that in every 12 boxes, you will pull potentially one of this, but this is the only secret rare in the set. The good thing about some of these secret rares is that they're not very playable, so they're not like they're needed to play, but hopefully in the future they will move away from some secrets that are like they're not accessible through the normal set. So that's for the box topper, as well as the secret rare. So again, there are different rarities as well. And then nextly, you also have the foil rulers. So foil rulers are all 1-stars, but then foil rulers just have a base, like base shine foil to it. But this was considered one of the main hits for set 1, which when you look at it compared to the rarities of like the newer sets, this is actually not a very big hit because they're not very sought after, and they're actually, even though they're not very common, because in the case you would usually get a ruler, or you could get the secret. So if you pulled like the ruler in your box, you knew you wouldn't get a secret rare. But there was also like other slots that you could get instead of the foil ruler. So that's why there was one main hit slot in set 1. And again, the video that I have on set 1 where I do like a case review will actually go more in depth for that breakdown. Okay. Next you have, so again with 4-stars there are different types. So this one will focus. So you see it has 4-star and it has an L next to it. So the L means legend. So legends are also indicated by this symbol here for legends. And again, for deck building, there'll be a video on deck building. But there can only be a certain number of legends per deck, and they're usually restricted to 1 copy. So with set 1, you were guaranteed 2 legends per box, as well as an uber rare version. So the uber rare version is it's like a monochromatic shine to it. And again, usually like some parts will be colored that you can see in this one. So this is actually a foiling that they've used from Force of Will, the trading card game, as well as this game actually uses quite a bit of artwork from Force of Will, because especially when the creator of Gate Ruler first started, it was a way to like cut on cost because they didn't have to commission like brand new artworks to be used, but rather than like make a deal with the creators of Force of Will to get that. So that's why there are uber rare versions, but because you get 1 uber rare legend per box, and in set 1 there was 6, you got at least 1 of each per case, so they're not like overly expensive. And because you only need 1, it's not like you need like a playset, so it's not very expensive to get some of the uber rares variants. Next we have base 4-stars. So 4-stars have 3 different variants in set 1. So you have the normal version, which is this one, so like with Abivolt. So there are a total of 17 different 4-stars in the set. So there are also 4 different what is known as high rarity variants. So you'll notice, like for example, on the top of these 2 cards, the top of this one has a border, whereas the one on top here does not. Okay? Even if you look on the sides of the card, like you notice it's very different, it's very slight, where like you'll only notice that the border is gone on the bottom as well, but like the side is already partially full art on the normal version, on both sides. So it's usually very slight differences, but one other sure way to tell is that the stars on the card itself is in foil. So like you'll notice the 4-stars on this card, on the normal card, if it'll focus, is a lot easier to see, whereas the stars on the high rarity version are in foil. So that'll be a common thing with all sets, is that the high rarity version will have foil stars versus like the normal version will have just plain white stars. But with the 4-stars, they also have an uber rare version as well. Okay. So again, it's still a 4-star, but again, it is more of a full art, but it still has the bottom border down here, but you'll notice the text box is actually a lot smaller. So if you notice, like with the main one, it says breakthrough, and it has the ability, like the reminder text, whereas on the Uber version, it just says breakthrough. It doesn't have that extra text, so that way you can see more of the picture. Okay. So again, but again, the Uber has that monochromatic feel to it, and it is very distinct versus the other two, where like again the high rarity and the normal version have very slight differences. Next we have is 3 stars. Oh, sorry, for Uber rares. So like I mentioned, Uber rares, or all 4 stars have an Uber version, whereas in set 1, only 4 cards had an Uber version that were 3 stars. So 3-star variants only had one Uber per main color. So one for yellow, one for blue, one for pink, and one for red. So these are the 4 main ones that you got Ubers for set 1. So not every 3-star came in Uber rare foiling, only these 3. Next we have is 3 stars. So aside from the Uber of a few, some have very little differences. So again, so high rarity for 3 stars. You'll notice the name is a little bit harder to see, as well as like the cost, because the high rarity is kind of in foil versus the regular version has a white outline. But again, same thing with the stars. On the normal version, you will see the 3 stars, whereas the high rarity version will have it in gold, so it's a little bit harder to see. Even like the numbers are in a bit of gold. But again, with the 3-star, some of the differences are very like hard to notice. Like with this card, only the wings on the top. So if you notice the wings on the top here versus here, you'll notice it actually goes into like the border and cuts out some of like that black box. But other than that, it still has like its full border from the rest of the card. So only like some parts sticks out, and like the lettering is the only real way to like clearly see. Because if you just like glance at the card, you wouldn't actually notice the difference. Because again, the foiling is very similar to each other, where it's just, you know, that flat shine map to it. This is another 3-star, but this one is, again, you'll notice the words for the high rarity version are in foil versus the regular ones are white. And again, same thing for the stars, where it's harder to see on the high rarity foil. But you'll notice on this card, the card is pretty much exactly the same. Like the borders, nothing is actually like extended out into the card itself. So that's why, again, with set 1, the differences between like the 3-star high rarity and regular cards is pretty much non-existent. That some people were getting confused because they were wondering like, oh, why does this card have like a shiny like letters and text, or like the stars are different? Like, is there a main difference? So high rarities are a little bit more harder to get, but with set 1, there's not too much of a difference. But like personally, I prefer to use the ones with the white box because it is easier to see. But again, with these ones, it usually mimics some of the 4-star foiling. But again, with 3 stars for set 1, there's very few. Some have like this card has a lot of like extended art on the side, but then there are some cards that don't have any, and the only way to tell is like the lettering and the stars for the foil. And then in set 1, you have 2 stars and 1 stars that come in like normal non-foil, and then they also have a foil variant. And again, I have a better breakdown of the set in one of my other videos that explains the rarity of the cards. But with set 1 specifically, 1-star cards were a lot harder to get than any other card type, because of starter deck cards, which we'll go over in just a bit. But you'll notice that they have the high rarity of the 2-star has the same version as like a 3-star, where it has, you know, white words, and it's just a plain, you know, vanilla foiling, flat matte foiling over it. And the stars are like foil, like a high rarity, because again, it is a high rarity of a normal card. And then lastly is the starter deck card. So the starter deck only comes with 1 card in foil, which, like, for example, this one is Vastoris Rex. So on the starter deck card, the card has, sorry, if it'll focus, has gold lettering, as well as, again, there's no stars because it's a starter deck card, but you'll notice it also slightly goes outside of the border. So this is the main starter deck card. And then again, the regular starter deck card is non-foil, so it comes with both a foil version and a non-foil version. Okay, but again, this one doesn't go outside of the border like the full art version. However, in the set, in the base set, they were given a foil version. So again, it's very similar to the other version, but you'll notice the lettering of the words on the top are in white. And again, there is no extended art at the corner here. So this is pretty much the foil version that you get in the set is the same as the original card, but just has like that basic foil sheen to it. So that's for set 1. Okay, so now we're going to move into set 2. We're just going to pile the cards on top, and then I'll sort them out later, just to save time for the video. But with set 2, again, we still had a box topper, which is of a normal variant of a normal card of a 4-star in the set, but just with alternate art and again extended borders. This set also had 3 secret rares total for the set, but 2 of them are only variants of other cards in the actual set. So like the first one is the Berserker ruler. So again, it has the question mark, and well as Jenny Barbie. So these are the 2 cards that have another version in the set, but the only main difference is the actual art. With the rulers though, so like if you look at it, you'll notice the ruler has like that light sheen to it. And again, that is very different from the ruler that we had in like say set 1, where if you, again, it's hard to see in the sleeve, but if you take them out, you'll notice it like at certain angles, you'll notice that the black has more of like a vinyl finish. It's not like the flat matte of the original set 1. So a lot of the rulers in set 2 also got the same treatment. So same as like similar to the secret rare, where again, it has, this one has slightly more foiling, and it's a little more sheen to it because again, the letters are in like gold versus the white. But even on the regular version of it, you'll notice it has like a slighter sheen. It's not as a flat foiling as the original one. But again, the secret rares have a slight texture foiling to it. So you'll notice like with Jenny Barbie, you'll notice she has like a slight texture to her that some parts will stick out. And then even like this card, Beast Herbalist. So this is one of the cards, one of the secret rares. So you'll notice you'll see the different foiling in the light. So it's more textured. But again, this card is one of the ones that is getting a reprint. But again, the foiling might be a little bit different, where it won't have like that texture feel. It might be a flat foiling like the normal one. And again, with set 2, same thing. They had legends. In the legends, you got 2 per box, as well as there is an uber rare version of every single legend. The only difference with set 2 is that there was only 3 legends in our set, where Japan had 4, because Japan had a card called Flying Spaghetti Monster, or some people call just FSM. But because of probably potential licensing rights, because it's a religion in Japan, they got like approval for it, but I guess they didn't get an approval for it in the United States. So that card is actually changed for us, but we didn't get it in the actual set. So there's actually a lot of duplicates of these legends from set 2. And then again for 4 stars, so this is Jenny Barbie. So again, this is the version of the secret rare. Okay, so this is the secret rare picture, and then this is the normal version. Okay, so again with the high rarity version, you'll notice that there's less border along the edges. So like you'll notice there's no border along here on the full art version, or even down here. This corner is a lot different in type. It's also like more full art. So like the full art is a lot more pronounced in a lot of set 2 cards. And again, all set 4 cards came with a 4-star variant. And then this one with set 2, they actually increased it where it was a lot easier to get 4-star uber rares, whereas like set 1, it was actually a lot harder to get. And then unlike set 1, set 2 actually had 9 different uber rares of 3 stars. Okay, so it gave it 2 per color. So like this is for yellow or Volnar. These are the two for Atlas. So again, these are 3 stars that got uber rare treatment, but so then that means that 2 per color did not get an uber rare treatment for them. So again, 2 per of the main colors, and then 1 for the X-Vader faction. So again, there's 9 total uber rares for set 2 when it comes to 3 stars. Now at 3 stars, this is where they actually changed the foiling. So you'll notice the lettering is still the same, where normal version has the white foiling or white letters, and then gold letters for the high rarity version. And then same thing for the stars, again, same as set 1. The only difference is that with set 2, there's some extended art, again like here, but the main difference is actually if you look at the card at an angle. So if you look, it might be hard to see, but you'll notice the high rarity foil on the right has a lot more of a like vinyl type of look to it, or more of a sheen, as well as the border is more like textured, and actually has a slight texture to it, if you can see it in this. So again, like the border is a lot different. So you notice it's still the flat sheen on the normal cards, but on the high rarity version you see more of that texture around. So that's why with set 2, the quality of the high rarity cards really got different, and it got, like, in my opinion, it got a lot better because they're just a lot nicer, especially if you get to look at them up close. And then even the high rarity for the 1 stars and 2 stars also got the same treatment of, the border is like more glossy and more textured, and then glossier for the card effect itself. But at the same time, there is no like extended borders for any of the cards. It's just a plain foiling of high rarity from the 3 stars. But with set 2, one of the main difference was that set 2 did come with a starter deck, or 2 starter decks, but in English we didn't get those starter decks because there was a discrepancy in the cost, because for some rulers you can only have so much cost in the deck. It also had only like 1 copy of a card, where the original point of the starter decks was that you would buy 2 copies and you could get a whole playset of the starter deck cards. So it wouldn't mean you'd have to buy 4. So because of that, they altered the numbers, so we didn't get that starter deck until set 3, which means there was no starter deck cards that came in foil for the set. So 1-star cards were not as hard to get as compared to like set 1. But with that is for set 2, and then we'll be moving on to set 3. Okay. But with set 3, we did get, again, we got the starter deck with set 3. However, we did not get foil versions of the starter deck cards from set 2. So I am not sure how we're going to get those in foils, especially for those that want to foil out their deck, because there are some cards that you would want in foil. But with the introduction of set 3, we also got introduced to a new 4-star type, which is shortened to 4-star S. So on the bottom, if you look, it says 4-star S. So S stands for superior rare. So like you'll see, it says superior on the top corner. And this was actually our box topper, is that there were 9 total superior rares made, 2 per faction, and then 1 for X-Vader, so 9 total different ones. And then your box topper was one of the 9. And for this one, the box topper had way more value than the other ones, where those cards were just regular 4 stars, but superior rares were a lot more harder to get. Again, I do have a video that has a breakdown of a whole master case of 24 boxes for set 3 that kind of goes the breakdown of the different rarities. And superior rare has been found to be like one of the more sought after cards, because when you open up a case of like 6 boxes, you're about to get maybe about a playset of each with like a few extra. But if players need, like 4 there are some superiors that like scream, you need 4 copies of, and even like in future sets, depending, like if the card pool gets bigger, some superiors could even get better as time goes on. So, for me, I would be concerned if you don't have your playset of certain superiors, is, try not to spend too much money on them, but try to obtain your playset. And with the superiors, try to be careful on paying like premiums on like the high rarity versions, because with the superior there are 3 versions, but they face a similar problem to like set 1, where they're very like there's hardly any distinct differences between them aside from the type of foiling. So like for example, This one on the right is the normal version. So you'll notice the star coloring. So you notice one has white stars, one has foil stars, and then one has regular stars again. So the normal version, okay, so they're all pretty much the same, okay, but you'll notice there is slightly less border on the middle card. Okay, so these first two versions, okay, so we have the normal version, and then this is actually the box topper version. Okay, the box topper version is pretty much an exact copy of the normal version, except there is a texture to it. So, so if you look on the normal version, you'll see there's, you know, just like the normal flat sheen that 4 stars have. But if you look at the high, or the sorry, not high rarity, but the box topper, you'll notice it has a texture to it on the actual physical card. Okay, so there is no real difference between these two in terms of like artwork, aside from the type of foiling that is used on it. Okay, but of course, because this box topper is a little bit hard to get, and because of the textured foiling, it might fetch a higher price compared to like the normal version. And then the high rarity version, again, has slight like full art. Like you'll notice it has like a little bit more of that yellow border on the top versus the blue. And then same thing, like it has like a little bit of the border there, but this one has complete, just full, full artwork picture. But you also notice you'll notice it has like the high rarity gloss, you know, feel to it of like other high rarity cards. So again, they kept that. And in my opinion, this is probably one of the nicer looking type of foilings for it. But this one came with only 2 per box. And again, with 9 different versions, it's a lot harder to get this version. Same with like, so again, they're all relatively hard to get because of how many you get per box and like within a case. So again, just know that there are different variants. So when you're looking to buy these different ones, just make sure you are noticing which one you are paying for. Okay, so hopefully you can either get the high rarity version, you can get the normal, or you can get like the box topper. To me, the normal one is probably fine if you're just playing, because again, there are very few like differences between them. However, there are some superior rares that are slightly different. So like this, for example, is the high rarity version of Sakuya Hime for the superior. And you'll notice on like the side, so you see on the side, there is the red border here. So it's more of an extended art on the full, like the high-end rarity. Because again, with the box topper, it is textured. So you'll see on the left, it is textured. But on the right, it has that gloss feel of high rarity. And again, there's less border on it. So like this one, the high rarity, again, version is probably going to be the more sought after for higher end, like collectors or even players that want more sheen to it. With set 3, there was also only 2 secret rares in this set. Again, for this one, for Alice, is actually a copy of a card, except it's just alternate art. But this one doesn't have any real texture to it compared to like the other secret rares from the other sets. But again, this is just a reprint of a card in the actual set. So it's only for like a collector value, or if you really like Alice, the secret rare is not very necessary. Even for Yumemi, it's kind of a flat foiling, which is kind of disappointing considering all the other secret rares have had like the texture foiling to it. So it's kind of sad to see this. This one doesn't have a reprint yet, but based on, since the other 2 got a secret rare reprinting, this will probably get a reprint eventually. So again, don't pay like excessive amount, because I think it's going for like about 100 as the filming of this video. So just be careful if you're picking those up. But again, because this one's a legend, it's not too much of an issue because you only need 1 copy. Same with the rulers, similar to like past set, or the set 2, where it has that gloss sheen to it. Nothing much to add there. But these were a lot easier to get because they were pretty much almost guaranteed per box. So it was easy to get all the 4 versions. So these ones actually should be a lot cheaper, unless it's specific ones. And just like the other ones, you got, there's a legend, and then they have an uber rare variant of them. So nothing different there. Again, 4 stars. This one, all 4 stars have a uber rare version again, as well as a high rarity version. Okay, so like you'll notice, but with the high rarity version again, it's very slight. Like you'll notice there's like a little red here on the normal version, but on the high rarity version there's no red. So again, it's a very slight difference, because even like the letters are still the same. But again, the stars are mainly where you're gonna tell, right? Where high rarity has the foiled stars, whereas normal version is not foiled. And then again, all 4 stars have an uber rare version, and some of these uber rares are very nice because of the way that they color. Everything is monochrome, but except for a few colors. And then 3 stars with this set. Set 3 is the first set that does not have any 3 stars as uber rares potentially. So they still have like the high rarity version. And again, like set 2, it has that more texture, as well as, you know, the gold lettering versus the white. And then same thing for the stars, but again, it has this more like texture feel to it, as well as a gloss compared to the flat foiling. And then same thing for the 1 stars and 2 stars. Again, they have the high gloss variant for the high rarity version, as well as again gold lettering. White lettering, but it keeps the gold lettering. So similar to like set 1 and 2, where because they're only like versions of commons and uncommons, they have just the normal white wording, but they have the higher rarity foiling of stars. But again, it also has that gloss feel to it, which is a lot nicer. But with that, that's a basic overview of the different foilings that you can see in sets 1, 2, and 3. And then eventually, if set 4 has any main changes, when we get that, I will let you know when I do another product opening for that. But with that, that's all for this video. Thank you for watching, and then I'll see you guys in the next one.